This used to be a Taco Mac here in Midtown Atlanta, but as you can see now, there are for lease signs on the side of the building, and that is because this restaurant has now permanently closed. Metro Atlanta is known for its great restaurants, but lately, many of these iconic dining spots have shuttered.
Well, the difficult decision is whether to keep something open that's losing money.
Steve Simon is the founder and CEO of Fifth Group Restaurants and owns a number of brands like Echo in Midtown. He's been in business for 33 years and said times have never been tougher.
You're working on a thin margin. You don't have a lot of margin for error before all of a sudden you're in the red. And if you don't have a backstop, then you get in trouble.
Recently, Simon said he had no choice but to close Lure on Crescent Avenue to make ends meet. Other notable restaurant closures of late include the Oceanair Seafood Room, West Egg, and Bola Gastro Bar, to name a few. Stephanie Fisher is president of the Georgia Restaurant Association. She said 42% of all restaurants nationwide didn't make a profit last year.
There is rent increases, there is food cost. Food cost is actually 30% higher since pre-pandemic. We have labor cost rising. We have parking, we have oversaturation, we have insurance that keeps rising.
And as costs rise, profit margins have fallen to 3% in some cases, forcing restaurateurs to increase prices on the menu.
I go out to eat. I don't like to pay more than I think it should cost, but I know what it costs, and I still shake my head sometimes, but it's just a fact.
Another problem right now for many restaurants is oversaturation. The Georgia Restaurant Association said there are more restaurants opening each month than closing. Plus, people are using delivery services to order out instead of dining in. In Midtown Atlanta, Adam Murphy, Atlanta News First.
All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rekakwadash, giving double honor to the apostles and elders of great millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect. Shalom to all the brothers out here laboring in this truth with sincerity. Shalom to the few sisters that watch. It's coming back with another lesson. Just going into, how this place is falling, man. We can see it. Just saw a clip at the beginning of the video, about the food industry. You have so many restaurants closing. And the main key of what I heard was that 42% of all restaurants across the nation didn't profit. They didn't make a profit. So this place is finished, man. This place is over with. And that's the spirit, because I saw that clip the other day, and then the Elder Yashawamba, this is his page right here, Remnant Save 144, and he's going into the same thing. But this particular part of the video goes into the amount of restaurants that are closing around America, man. This place is finished, and there's no coming back. There's absolutely no coming back. It happened once, during the Great Depression, and a great reset was brought forth. The revolution, the industrial revolution, was brought forth. Social Security numbers were introduced. But now, hey, man, we're in the age of technology, AI taking over, jobs are being lost. So, that particular lifestyle or that particular era will never happen again. We're on the way, this place is on its way down. So with that being said, I'm going to quit rambling. Get into the video, that the Elder Yashawamba, did. And then we're just going to jump into some scriptures. It's not going to be long, straight to the point, so let's get it. We'll listen to what the elder has to say about this, as well as these clips that he added to the video. So let's go.
I am Babylon's businesses are closing for good. Many fell in bankruptcy. Is Babylon great? Is America great again yet?
said they're going to be closing up to 62 stores. Smoky Bones Barbecue has said that they're going to close 120 plus stores. Domino's Pizza said that they're closing 250 plus stores and they're filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Papa John's is closing over 300 locations. Popeye's Chicken is closing 136 locations and they are also filing for bankruptcy. Red Lobster.
And this is an outlet for people, food. People have long enjoyed, going to restaurants with their families. This is on a fast food level, but, we saw in the first clip, you got dining areas, so-called exclusive restaurants, that people take their family, their friends, but it's only going to get worse because gas prices are going up. People are going to be looking to, put that money that they use towards food, to put it in the gas tank, man. Trying to get to and fro to work to actually make money, So, going to a fast food restaurant was so-called luxury, especially when I was coming up, man. That was unheard of, just to go to a fast food restaurant and eat. That was like a treat, something that you were rewarded, It wasn't a normal thing like it is today. But, we're headed back to those times, man, because people are trying to survive. You're going to, people are going to be going to the grocery stores looking to, eat leftovers. It was a point in time, man, people didn't even eat leftovers. They cooked the food, ate it for one night, had food left over and threw it out. That's the lifestyle that these people are used to living, a wasteful lifestyle. And you can see it in the younger generation today, man. They don't try to save anything. It's all about now, here and now. But matter of fact, we got to get the scriptures. So let's go to, of course, 2 Ezra chapter 16. Because that's 2 Ezra chapter 15 and 16. It's pretty much where we are and where we're headed at the present time. So let's jump down to verse 17, and this is Ezra speaking. It says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The days are going to be evil, and the days are evil right now, as prices continue to increase in your gas and your food and your clothing, your normal everyday essentials, it's only going to get worse, man. You could just think of the movie The Purge. We're not too far from that. And other nations are already in that stage, But they don't have as many weapons as America. Just imagine if what happened in Cuba, total blackout, happened in America. It'll be all out chaos, man. This is a place of wickedness. They put themselves up on a pedestal, to the people outside, and the Edomites inside. They're the only ones that keep that pride and are fooled by the wine. They're definitely drunken by the wine. These Edomites, low-level Edomites, working class Edomites, man, you can't tell them that America is not the greatest place ever established in the history of mankind, all, in every aspect, which it is a great kingdom, for some people. It's the most powerful kingdom ever established, but it's not the greatest. It's other places in the world that you could go to and live like a king, man. But here, it's straight, hey, get up, go to work, come home, do it all over again. Which takes a toll on your mind, body, your spirit, So this place, man, is on its way out. We want to hasten the day for this place to go out, but at the same time, man, we're going to be suffering also. As we see, Ezra saying, hey, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? So verse 18, it says, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars and the powers that stand in fear. The beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? And we're right at the door of these evils. Kicking the door in, man. You know, one more incident, and all chaos might break out. You know, everybody is on edge here in Babylon the Great. You know, they're trying to hold it together, trying to maintain, but it's all a facade. You know, it's not real, man. And eventually it's going to boil over, you know. Your government is clearly showing you that they don't care about you. You know, they're asking for $200 billion, but you got people out here on the street starving. You got homeless vets. You care so much about the vets. Why are they on the street? You know, you got children starving, man. You know, your gas prices are exploding. You know, the homeless rate is at an all-time high. Crime, they say, is down, but we know that's a lie. You know, man, this place is done for, man. You know, verse 19, it says, behold, famine and plague and tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. So these things are sent, you know, for the people that don't abide by the laws of the Heavenly Father, man. You know, especially you Israelites, us Israelites. You know, everybody's going to suffer, but the difference is the Lord only cares about the Israelites. You know, his focus is on the Israelites. We know everybody's going to suffer, but he ain't concerned about them. You know, Jacob's trouble is also going to be Edomite trouble, Moabite trouble, all around the world, man. But the Lord's focus is on Israel, you know, which is a people before it's a place. So let's see. We can go back to the clip of the elder. And what do you have it? What do you know? What do you know? Just gotta play
Closing up to 62 stores. Smoky Bones Barbecue has said that they're going to close 120 plus stores. Domino's Pizza said that they're closing 250 plus stores and they're filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Papa John's is closing over 300 locations. Popeye's Chicken is closing 136 locations and they are also filing for bankruptcy. Red Lobster is closing over 100 locations. Red Robin is closing 70 plus locations. Denny's is closing over 150 locations. Pizza Hut is closing over 250 locations. And Wendy's said that they're going to close a maximum of 600 locations. We're talking over a...
Yeah, man. And these restaurants that she's naming off 30 years ago were thriving. You know, they were at the peak, at the height of profit, at the height of popularity. Now, man, who goes to Papa John's, man? Who goes to Pizza Hut? You know, you ride by Pizza Hut, it look like it's abandoned. You know, especially the one by me. What else she name out? Red Lobster, man. That, like, who going to Red Lobster? You know. What else she named? All these restaurants that she's naming off, man. Wendy's, like, who is eating at Wendy's right now? And if the quality of the food is so far gone that, you know, the quality, the taste, everything, man, is done for. You know, the meat is not real meat. You know, it's not beef. The fries are not really fries. None of this stuff, man. The stuff don't mold. It sits, it get hard, and it lasts for years and years on top of years. You know, even the bread that we eat now, well, you know, the bread that they make now, that stuff don't mold, man. It can sit for 2 months and not have any mold. It's all chemicals, fake. You know, let's see. Matter of fact, we'll continue on.
1,000 locations. of fast food restaurants and food chains that are getting ready to close their doors. And you think this country is not in trouble?
Domino's Pizza is closing 250 plus locations and filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Wendy's is closing 300 to 600 locations in 2026. Popeye's Chicken is closing 136 plus locations and also filing bankruptcy, mostly in Florida and Georgia. Papa John's is closing over 300 locations in 2026. Denny's is closing over 150 locations in 2026. Red Lobster is closing over 100 locations in 2026. Red Robin is closing 70 plus locations in 2026. Pizza Hut is closing 250 locations in the U.S. in 2026. Smoky Bones is closing 120 locations in 2026. It brings me absolutely no joy to bring you this information. However, it is the real facts of what is going on in the U.S. economy in 2026. Please don't spend any money. Please plan your spending, do a budget. If you found this post informative, although sad, please like, comment, follow, and share. It is important that you keep up on the economy and economic news because, as you see, it does affect you personally. These are thousands of restaurants that will be closing, which means these workers will be unemployed, laid off, and not spending money in the economy.
So again, verse 33, for as she rejoiced at your ruin, right, and was glad at thy fall.
Yeah, and we see it because we're not in a time of actually spending money right now. You know, it's not a time to be going out just buying things that are not necessary to buy. You know, hey man, it's tight. You never know what might happen. The little bit of money that you have saved now, it's always gonna be something that come up, man. You know, hey, if you're able to save, you know, it's like these bills come around so fast. Your check is gone. Hey, the same day you get it. You know, so man, we at an all-time low, and we know this place is on its way out. You know, we're rejoicing. We're glad to see it happen, but at the same time, we know that we're gonna suffer also. But you know, it must happen, man. You know, it must happen for prophecy to move forth. You know, and hey, we ready, man. We ready to get out of here. So let's go back to the book 2nd Ezra, and let's see. Let's go to verse 20. It says, "But for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges." You know, these people out here are gonna continue to be engulfed in sin, continue to shun the Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, and do their own thing, you know, not having faith, you know, depending on their brute strength, their weaponry, all this, man, you know, just to survive, you know. But us, man, you know, Lord willing, we keep the faith, you know, continue to pray to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, because we know that's the only way that we're going to make it out of here, man, you know. This place is in total collapse, total chaos, and hey, Donald Trump is a perfect man to be in office right now, you know. So, you know, we hey, you're doing a great job, Donald J. Trump. So it says, "Behold, victuals shall be good, cheap, shall be so good cheap upon the earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion." You know, it's still a point you can go to a restaurant and, you know, hey, they holding on by a string, man. So they coming up with all these deals, trying to revamp promotion, doing all this, you know, for people to come. But it's not working, man. You know, you just had people out here so excited about this new hamburger that McDonald's had. You know, a big, nasty hamburger. But, you know, people out here excited about it. You know, fake meat, heart attack on bread, you know, and they're excited about it, man. But it didn't work. You know, it didn't work, man. All the promotion, you had your Wendy's CEO on there half eating a hamburger. He even almost threw up. So, you know, this place is done, man. This place is over. And it's a beautiful thing to see. You know, every day, man, we're rejoicing. You know, every day is something. Bad news to the world is great news to us. So verse 22, it says, for many of them shall dwell upon the earth. Salaki, it says, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine. And the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. And that's where we are, man. You know, restaurants closing. The mirth of the land is gone. And matter of fact, let's see. Let's see. Yeah. It says, this is the book of Ezekiel chapter 4. And we'll go to verse 13. It says, and the Lord Yahweh said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whether I will drive them. So all these restaurants, fake food, fake meat, GMOs, you know, and the Lord is plaguing the food industry right now, as he is the whole world also. So call Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. You know, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying, and we want to constantly give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai B'Shem Rakakwadash. Shalom.